Hey Fabricators, and welcome back to Advancing Fabric, brought to you by Advancing Analytics, your neighborhood data and AI consultancy. My name is Craig, Chief Fabricator at Advancing Analytics, and I'm mainly around the data engineering side of things. And I'm joined today by Johnny.
Hey Fabricators, how we doing? You good, Craig?
Yeah, brilliant. Good to see
Cool, good
you.
time. Yeah, you
And
too. So I work with Craig. I'm one of the consultants here at Advanced Analytics. I am part of our analytics practice, so I do a lot of stuff around Power BI, absolute Power BI nerd.
and you'll notice Simon's not here today. We have
Nope.
kicked Simon off the show. So we're going to be bringing you updates, news, and all sorts of features around Fabric from now on. And Simon, we'll maybe let him back in for some guest appearances, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, see what mood we're in.
Great. So this month we want to just cover all of the news and everything that's landed in October. So there's been a lot of new updates, but there's a great summary article or blog post that Microsoft have released, and we'll run through that and pick out our favorite parts and the bits that we're most kind of excited about and interested around. So we've got the post here. So there's a lot in this. You want to kick us off, Johnny?
Yeah, so I guess one of my sort of highlights is literally that first one in terms of one of the core new features around new item type icons. So back in August, I think it was, I wrote a blog post all about naming conventions in Fabric and why it's a good idea to have naming conventions for your artifacts. You can check that out on the Advancing Analytics blog. If we just go through here, though, one of the things that I called out at the time was that to have unique naming references is going to help you to quickly identify which artifacts in your workspace are which type of experience. And one of the reasons for that is because that iconography is rubbish.
It
Old
was all
school,
monochrome.
yeah, 100%. Like back in the old days, Power BI had these nice bright icons, really quite eye-catching, and then they changed them to these monochrome ones, and they're pretty stylish. They look swish, but in terms of trying to figure out which one's the data set, which one's the data flow, it doesn't really help. So I kind of called out that plain iconography at the time, and it sounds as though Microsoft heard the complaints of the community. So they've introduced a new item icon system. There's a blog accompanying that new feature. There's some really interesting stuff here about the theory that's gone behind it. So it isn't just a random assortment of colours. There's been some thought. There's a little bit of kind of theming in terms of the different types of experience and which experiences have which colours. And yeah, I think it's definitely a big improvement if we want to sort of have a look at what that looks like in the Fabric service itself.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to just pick the things out that are relevant to you, the kind of artifacts that you're interested in. Like I remember just even creating some lake houses and warehouses and things like that, and your brain takes a little bit to kick in to actually read which one you're looking for, so that makes them stand out a bit better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm still going to like blow my own trumpet and advocate for using a good solid naming convention as well. But coloured icons is definitely a welcome addition. So yeah, that was my number one pick in terms of October's news. How about you? What you caught your eye?
Yeah, so I mean, if we jump back to the news here, there's a lot in here. I'm going to skip over all this Power BI stuff at the moment. There's a lot in there,
So
but some.
on that, Craig, what do you think? Because the blog now has got so much information in it regarding all the various experiences. I'm thinking I might just do a separate one just for the Power BI stuff. Keep the Power BI nerds like me happy. What do you reckon?
I think that's a really good idea because there's a lot in here, and it kind of like you can get bogged down with all of the updates in Power BI because it's a beast on its own. So all of these kind of it's easy for the interesting kind of data engineering side of things to kind of fall into the cracks at that point. So like a couple of things that kind of fit in here is around the service changes. So like the OneLake data hub that's in there, that's been in there for a while, but just some changes to it and the functionality that's in there. If I jump into Fabric, let's go through the data engineering interface. We've got that OneLake data hub in there. So some of this has already been here for a while, but just the navigation and the ability to kind of find what you need and actually just search what's relevant to you is a lot easier now. So I can switch this, just look at the sales domain, for example.
Those icons pop on that page as well, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, makes it a lot easier, less monochrome. I like the kind of coloring to just really signify that I'm looking at a specific domain as well. And then I can come down here, I can see all of these kind of items. I can see what ones I've marked as favorites, what ones are endorsed by our organization as well. So it's easy to pick out what's important and what's relevant to me. So there's some nice changes in there, which is good. I think one of the biggest ones for me, if I scroll down a little bit through all of these, is within the Synapse side of things. So actually on the data warehouse side is the V-order write optimization. Now,
that sounds really techy.
Yeah, it does, and it to me it sounds interesting, but yeah, it sounds techy. You might quite easily just scroll past it. And what that actually means is Fabric under the hood, when we're saving down those Delta files, is using a V-order on top of the Parquet files, which basically allows them to be compressed a lot better. But what that's doing in the background and what that's also enabling, which is interesting here on the warehouse side of things, is it's opening up DirectLake and that connectivity in the warehouse. If I come back to Fabric, I'll jump into my UK sales warehouse workspace, sorry. And if I come down and find my UK sales gold, nice and easy to find with the new icons as well.
Awesome.
I'll open this up, and as that's loading, I've got a little query in here where I'm just creating a table and pulling that in from my silver lake house into my gold warehouse. So if I open up the schema.
Nice select star there.
Yep, yeah. I didn't say it was good. Go have a look at the tables. I can see my sales detail V-order that I've named it. But if I come into model, this is where I really see that it's enabled that DirectLake functionality, which is that kind of dotted line across the top. And if I hover over it, you can see the storage mode down the bottom there is DirectLake. So that's brilliant. We didn't have that before. You had to have your data in the lake house and surface through the SQL endpoint there, which allowed you to do the DirectLake functionality, but we've now got it in warehouse. So it's quite sneaky. It felt like they snuck that one in.
Yeah, that headline doesn't really say that DirectLake's now available on warehouse. So that's
No.
I think what's really highlighted for me though is that obviously you're more excited about the fact this is really just a Power BI feature, not an engineering feature, and it's a Power BI feature you're actually most excited about.
Yeah, it enables Power BI. What happens after that connectivity, I'm not worried about. That's your area.
Cool.
So yeah, if we jump back to the news and I scroll up, see there's pages and pages of Power BI stuff. I think next on the list, so there was a couple other ones, SQU guardrails for burstable compute. Again, quite technical sounding, essentially just giving you the ability to limit the burstable compute that you can use within the data warehouse functionality, so that you can't just essentially go, I need this done now, but I'm going to max out my capacity for the rest of the month. Some other bits and pieces around real-time analytics, data science, the Semantic Link piece, I know is a favorite of yours.
I am excited about Semantic Link. I do not call myself a data scientist at all. I can't even spell AI. But Semantic Link, I am really, really excited about. So over on the Advancing Analytics YouTube channel, Simon has already done a video all about that. So you can go check out the video. But just to give you the sort of 1,000-mile high version of that, Semantic Link means that within notebooks, you can write DAX and query Power BI datasets. So I am a DAX fiend. I love writing DAX as a query language. It's really useful for things like useful for paginated reports, for example, or even just for doing testing in DAX Studio and things like that. Semantic Link is now giving us that capability inside of notebooks and opening up possibilities for data scientists to be able to use measures that have been defined in that semantic model and
Sounds
use them
great.
further downstream. So, yeah, I mean, this is Simon's notebook. You can see it's got his name all over it. So, very far from mine. But yeah, you can start with even basic DAX queries that are going to bring back full tables, pull back specific columns, and even fully formed DAX queries as well. So you can start to reference those measures, things like time intelligence and year-on-year measures and things that are sort of traditionally quite hard to construct in something like SQL. You can have that predefined in your semantic model instead and reuse that further downstream. So some really exciting stuff. Another opportunity to be able to showcase the power of DAX. So yeah, another really, really good addition without a doubt.
Yeah, it'd be really good to see people kind of getting in and using that a lot more, and kind of seeing those use cases of how you can benefit from it. So
Yeah, one
yep.
thing Simon points out, which I wasn't so keen on, because there's me loving writing DAX. You can use Semantic Link without having to write DAX. So you can literally construct your construct a
Okay.
SQL query as part of a data frame, and so query the semantic model using SQL instead of DAX, but still reference DAX measures, so you don't have to write the actually write the DAX query yourself, which I kind of keep a bit quiet about because I'm like, I'll just write it in DAX anyway. But yeah, it makes it a little bit more accessible for people as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of opens up that accessibility then, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Brilliant. So yeah, moving on from that piece, as I said, some things around real-time analytics. I've not really dove too much into that, to be honest. Coming to Data Factory, there's a few kind of updates around data flows Gen 2. So we've got an update to the SAP HANA connector, just allows you to kind of access more calculation groups and things, and traversing through the kind of security plane under the hood there in SAP HANA. We've also got a new connector for Amplify Metrics, which I think is a marketing platform. So it's good to see that kind of tick over of just more connectivity, more things getting added every single month, which is great. Some bug fixes. One of the things kind of tying it back into the data science side of things is the ability to do Azure machine learning, call an Azure machine learning activity from within your pipelines. So if I jump in here, I can pop over to just a random pipeline. And from here, I can jump into the activity, and on that drop down, I've got right at the bottom there, machine learning. So I can do Azure machine learning, and that allows me to set up connections and work with that nice and easily. So that's a nice addition into Data Factory, and I hope to see a lot more of that kind of continual update of Data Factory and a few other bits and pieces being brought in.
Yeah, can imagine being able to call your machine learning models as part of a pipeline being potentially really useful in terms of like enriching your data as it sort of moves through your lake and things like that.
Yeah.
I thought potentially you were going to demo how to build an entire Azure machine learning.
That is something we'll get Gavi on for. I'll just steer right around that one. But yeah, that's great. It's brilliant to see as well. Looking through some other of the notes here, the ability to deactivate and reactivate activities is brilliant. Not really much to show around that.
I think that in like old-fashioned Data Factory that didn't exist. Like back in my old SSIS days, where you could like deactivate a container and skip bits. I'm sure that's a new thing. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. That's currently in preview just now, so there's a little bit of detail about it here, and you can dive in and learn more. So there's a lot of kind of other articles and things that takes you off to the documentation. You can go into a lot more detail about how that actually works, and how you can do that kind of deactivation and activation state. And yeah, like it's not something that I ever had the opportunity to use within Azure Data Factory. So hopefully we'll see a lot of that kind of progression within Fabric, where we're moving away and we're kind of making those enhancements that you're not going to see in Azure Data Factory as well. So coming back to that, that kind of covers most of the things here. There's a nice little sweet piece at the end there that you wanted to talk about, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of in the context of the entire update blog. This feels like a sort of little tacked on the end, and there's sort of not really standing on ceremony in terms of this is an announcement. But yeah, public preview of Data Activator now live. So I've actually written a blog on Data Activator. Again, visit advancedanalytics.co.uk if you want to check that out.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. What is Data Activator? So I've tried to summarize it a few times, but yeah, like give me your elevator pitch.
So my elevator pitch is kind of this little sentence just here. Actually, it activates data, right? And no, because what does that even mean? Activating your data? No, my one-liner, it acts on your data. So basically, what it is all about is being able to monitor data and then take data-driven actions off the back of it. So you've got a couple of different ways you can monitor that data. So you can either use event streams, which is one of the real-time analytics features, or you can actually just plug it into an existing Power BI report, Power BI for the win again. In terms of say monitor this metric, and if it hits a certain threshold or breaches a certain particular target, do something. The defaults there are you can send an email or you can send a Teams message, but there's also a Power Automate integration as well. So you can actually get custom integrations with Power Automate, which means basically that unlocks like so many different activities. I ended up posting an article to LinkedIn off the back of hitting an alert that my Data Activator had done for me. So the blog there takes you sort of full end-to-end through how to use it. Again, this is just me flogging my own wares because it's another blog written. But yeah, that sort of gives you that end-to-end of how that works. I can just see so many like cool opportunities for using that.
Yeah, it kind of starts to plug that gap in terms of like, okay, so you're bringing your data in, you're doing something with it, but how do you start to kind of act upon these components? How do you start to automate that full kind of process and actually get actions out the back of it? Because that's something that's like you just wasn't really there, if you know what I mean. Like it was great to see Power Automate, like and working with that over the years and how you could do certain things and automate actions and things like that. But this really, it kind of feels like it rounds off the full platform, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think the sort of way I described it was like bringing RPA, so robotic automation. It brings it nearer to your data platform. So RPA's existed for quite a long time. Data platforms obviously existed for quite a long time as well. This is like almost putting an RPA element into that data platform. So yeah, exciting times.
Brilliant. Yeah. So there was one more thing that I wanted to cover or talk about, and it's not actually in this roundup because it was announced right at the beginning of the month in October, and that's the roadmap. So here's the original post, and just kind of mentioning that you can now get to the Fabric roadmap from this quick URL. So we'll stick that in the notes for the video as well.
Or Craig, what people could do is they could Google Fabric roadmap.
That's true, because that always ends well. Every single time we've Googled Fabric roadmap, it just comes up with kids toys.
There we go. I've got one up.
There you go. So if you need to order a Fabric roadmap, that's where you want to get it.
Awesome.
But yeah, there's a lot of detail in here. You can dive into each of the kind of personas. So like Synapse data warehousing, engineering, and you can actually see the kind of expected release cycle around different features and functionality. Things like the runtime 1.2 that people have been talking a lot about recently. For quarter four 2023, we've got things around data lake, lakehouse data security, lots of interesting bits, get integrations for items as well. I think a lot of this will pop up once we see Ignite. And once Ignite comes, it's just around the corner now.
Yeah, was it 2 weeks? 1 week?
Yeah, just a week away. So you will be seeing a lot more of us, I think, when Ignite drops, and we've got loads and loads of news to get through. But as always, as Simon keeps saying, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you for the next bulk package of news that we'll see from Fabric.
Awesome.
See you later, everyone.
Yeah. Just record. Just let the recording run. We can test to see whether or not my voice is on this now, because that'll be fun. And then, yeah, just let it run. And if you start again and go again,
Okay.
don't stopping the recording, because then you can have all the outtakes as well.
Hey, Fabricators. Welcome back to Advancing Fabric. Brought to you... I don't know why I just draw blank. Okay, right.